Is it just me, family, or do you guys feel like this app promotes ignorance among our people? Maybe it's just me. I don't know.
I'm embarrassed for you at your level of ignorance. I mean that wholeheartedly. I stand 10 toes down on that. I am embarrassed for you and your level of ignorance.
What is good, family, and welcome on another episode today. How are you guys doing? I really hope you guys are doing fine today. And if you're joining for the very first time, thank you so much for being here today. There is a creator on TikTok that is receiving tons of backlash, getting dragged because she let her inner thought out and actually make a claim. You know, there is this trend of saying, what is that one ill that you're going to die on? I think this is probably going to be this creator's ill that she might probably die on. She made a video stating that slavery did not actually happen the way we thought it happened, because if it is true that the slaves were brought over to America by boat, why is it that there is no way to get to Africa back today by boat? Like, that was literally what she said. And you guys, I don't want to say this landed on the wrong side of TikTok because she's literally getting schooled. I even saw a creator said it is open upstairs, but there is nobody there. Like, literally, she's receiving tons of backlash. I want you guys to see the video and then listen to what people have to say about our video. Because let me just roll the clip. Let's get into our video and as well what the people are saying about our video.
So this is how you know slavery ain't really happened. Tell me why modern day 2025, we don't have any boats coming directly from Africa to America. There's no way to get to Africa on a boat. There's no way. I've been to Africa. I know there's no way to get to Africa on the boat today. And we supposedly have better technology today, right? But yet in 20, and I asked myself this as a kid. I'm like, so we got here, because you know everything we got. I know it's hard for y'all to believe that everything you learned in school was a lie. Everything they taught you in school was a lie. So if they taught you got over here on boats, baby, you been here. If they taught you that it's red, baby, it's blue. Y'all get what I'm saying? Y'all know these are programming centers, right? They're not schools to teach us and help us evolve and become our best versions, right? No. They're programming centers, right? So if anybody came over here on boats, we know it was the West Indians, the Caribbeans, the South Americans, you know, somebody close. Nobody came from Africa on no boats. And we know that Caribbeans is us. They're the chosen ones as well. We know that. So let's stop with the lies. Let's stop miseducating our people. Let's quit telling our kids lies that we learned in school when we all know the school system is here to fail us. Y'all know in America we have like the worst school system. Like, we're rated like last. Like, can we please quit teaching our kids what we learned in school? Like, self-love is the best love. When you start to love yourself, go within, focus on evolving, focus on becoming your best version, to become your highest self. Because as you raise your frequency, the planet of the earth rises, right? So that means you're doing your part. Just focus on self-love and evolution. And the truth will come to you. The truth is all from within. It's a collective consciousness. We all one, baby. It's all love. There's no way.
Is it just me, family, or do you guys feel like this app promotes ignorance among our people? Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I feel like being ignorant, being scientifically and historical illiterate is the new cool. It's okay. And you can be loud and wrong as fuck on this app. They will promote it.
So, do you all ever wonder what it looks like and sounds like to be on a combination of cremeth, dick dope, and dog food? Well, I'm not even going to say the first part of this name because I figured it'd be an insult to the ancestors. We're just going to call her O Heels. Said that she would go first.
So this is how you know slavery ain't really happened. Tell me why modern day 2025, we don't have any boats coming directly from Africa to America. There's no way to get to Africa on a boat. There's no way.
See, the first part is the cremeth, to not understand international shipping lanes that are easily Googleable. The dick, dope, and dog food portion comes from not realizing that the planet is covered by 70% water. Moving right along.
Tubman, she worked on the railroad, right? The Underground Railroad. Y'all take everything so physical. Like, she worked on the railroad and people had contracts, right? So this is how slavery worked. People had contracts. When people were going to work, they had to sign a contract, right? Just how the military or the industry is. Once you sign that contract for 30 years, you couldn't just quit. If you try to quit your job, they would actually take you to jail.
And just for clarification, for those of you all who are not on Cremeth, Dick Dope and Dog Food cocktails, she's talking about Harriet Tubman. Yeah, Harriet Tubman worked on an actual railroad that she signed a contract for. Yeah, moving right along, because I don't know what to say about that.
So y'all know I literally been to Africa, right? And when I was in Africa, like, exactly what she's saying, like, nobody knew about the whole slave story.
There are slave ports in decay in Ghana. Countries like Benin and Uganda have also acknowledged what happened during the transatlantic slave trade. I don't know what the hell she's talking about, but I know it's because of Cremeth, Dick Dope and Dog Food, and Choice. Because she engages in indigenous erasure. And this is the outcome of that indigenous erasure. The erasure of the struggles and the transatlantic slave trade that Black people had to endure over 400 years ago. That we are still dealing with the effects of today. A whole continent that is literally the cradle of civilization that we hail from. And people like her want to engage in the erasure of other cultures instead of celebrating and commemorating the culture we come from. The Cremeth, Dick Dope and Dog Food conversation crowd, like her and these 27,000 people, are part of the problem. And we need to treat them accordingly, because they do not mean us any good. And I said.
So this is how you know slavery ain't really happened. Tell me why modern day 2025, we don't have any boats.
I'm embarrassed for you at your level of ignorance. I mean that wholeheartedly. I stand 10 toes down on that. I am embarrassed for you and your level of ignorance. The fact that you have the nerve, audacity, unmitigated gall to get on Sojourner Truth's internet and state that slavery never happened because Africa doesn't trade with the U.S. via boats. Yeah, I'm embarrassed for you. Have you ever heard of maritime trading? You might want to look that up. You might want to look up the meaning of maritime trading. And then you can just simply Google, does Africa still engage in maritime trading with America? And the answer is yes. Had you taken 5 minutes to do that, that's it. That's all you got to do. 5 minutes. And there's a whole listing, a definition of the fact that the continent of Africa still engages in maritime trading, which is boat trading in layman's terms, with the United States of America. And then you further had the nerve, audacity, unmitigated gall to get on Harriet Tubman's internet and state that slavery never happened. How do you think Black people got here? This land was populated by the indigenous. And yes, there were some Black people that had already migrated pre-chattel slavery from Africa to the Americas, then known as Turtle Island. But by large and wide, how do you think we got here? Additionally speaking, the Caribbean that you mentioned as being the only Black people that can get here via boat, realistically, which again has already been proven to not be true, the Caribbean was populated due to the slave trade, due to the English, the French, the Dutch, the Spanish going to Africa, stealing our ancestors, and populating those islands. taking over those islands, using those islands to farm and to cultivate in order to be able to trade with other countries around the world. The difference between someone in Jamaica, someone in Barbados, someone in Colombia, someone in Dominicana, someone in Puerto Rico, the difference between them and us is a boat stop because of the slave trade. Your level of ignorance makes me want to weep. The thought of you having kids, and I pray to all that is holy that you don't. If you have children in your life, I pray that you're not teaching them this nonsense. I really do. The fact that you can state that it is a lie that slavery existed, and then to further state that we signed contracts, that our ancestors signed contracts. You really believe that they signed lifelong contracts to work for free in subpar conditions, to be made to live in cabins with no insulation, to be able to be made to live in situations where they're on mud floors and dirt floors, to be made to eat what most people would consider to be foul, as in FOWL, which is unwanted parts from animals, which is how we got quote-unquote soul food. The fact that you think they signed a contract to live that life, you're bugging. And if you have a source, please hit my DMs with it. Or better yet, put it in my comments. If you have a source to substantiate what you're saying, put it in my comments, because I am unaliving to see it. I'll wait. Like, I mean, they must be handing out Audacity at Walmart or something today, because I just simply can't. Have a day.
So this is how you know slavery ain't really happened.
This is a bunch of bullshit. And then it just got worse as I listened more and more to it. Just because you say something with force, or you say something salacious, as a lot of y'all do, does not mean that it's historically correct. Beloved, I'm Dr. Larry Smith. I'm a historian. I have specifically spent 25 years of my life studying our history, Black history, African diasporic history, not just here but in other places as well, across the world, including the continent. And I know without a shadow of doubt that we are definitely the descendants of transatlantic slaves that were brought here across the Atlantic Ocean. That's who we are. Many of y'all are passing around this conversation that we're native, or that we're indigenous, or that we're aboriginal. Do you, boo, on that? But what we're not going to do is disrespect the millions of people whose lives were uprooted, whose families lost their loved ones, some of which who lost their lives, whose remains are at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, millions of them, along with the ships that were sunk at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. We are not going to disrespect our ancestors, because a people who disrespects their ancestors is a people who is doomed to fail. And you here are disrespecting our people. I'm also a historian, history professor, entrepreneur, pan-Africanist, pro-Black social scientist, social justice activist, queer boy. You can Google me, you can follow me, you can find me everywhere. I do a lot. But let's be clear, there is so much evidence out there that it would be easier to try to disprove the tons of evidence than it would be to act as though it didn't exist. But there's tons of evidence. One thing I will agree, that school, as a teacher, as somebody who has been in education for all this time, yes, American education is definitely intended to make good citizens, and definitely intended to make more consumers and employees than anything else. In fact, as somebody who has been teaching for the last 25 years, I can tell you that a lot of our history has not even been in the classrooms. So not only are you not getting the total history of our people, you are barely scratching the surface. So for you to just make this broad stroking claim, when I know good and goddamn well you didn't get much of the education, no matter where you live in this country, about our people, and you didn't have a higher education or a higher level of awareness of this, to me, it's disappointing. But it also proves the fact that for our people, education is not something that we can easily say is something that we should choose. It is imperative that we teach our people our history, because people like you and those who are agreeing with you in your comment section are doing a huge disservice to the Black community by spreading this bullshit. I'm an evidence-based person. As a historian, I believe in being objective. So if there was any evidence that was strong enough to support that we were native to the Americas, I'd be the first promoting it, because I believe in objectivity. I don't learn history, teach history, absorb history from a place of emotion or from a place of attachment to it. I look at it purely scientifically. That is my rationale in history. I'm a historian who believes in objectivity. So I rely on the data. And as it relates to the transatlantic slave trade, there's tons of data. First and foremost, look at your headscarf. Where do you think that came from? It's even wrapped in a way that it was wrapped in early Africa. But even aside from all of that, nations like the United States, nations like England, Portugal, Spain, the Netherlands, France, all of these nations built their empires off transatlantic slavery. It is between 12 to 16 million people who were extracted from the African continent between 1492 and 1890. And along the way, they went to many places. You said you contradicted yourself in your post where you said it didn't happen, but then you said it happened in the Caribbean and in Latin America. That makes no sense. That's two contradictory thoughts. It happened there just as it happened here. And there's tons of evidence, as I keep saying, to support that. You actually now have Black marine biologists going to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, excavating and taking up things from our people. Body remains, boat fragments, and so forth. Because the Atlantic Ocean is a mass grave for tons of African people who didn't make the transatlantic journey here. And I'm not going to even dignify your comment that boats don't go to Africa. Our Navy goes to Africa. Our Marines go to Africa. Many of them by boat. Boats go to Africa all the time. But the point is, like I said, let's get into the evidence. There's a couple, maybe 2 or 3 websites that talk about the slave voyages. Slavevoyages.org is a really good one. You can also go in and find slave giving their testimony. You can also find slave records on this website. And Emory University, and I think Harvard and some other universities have done some pretty comprehensive research on this topic as well. But on this particular site, you can literally find slave documents in which the slave ship drivers and the business owners, because this was big business, trillion-dollar businesses, you can go and actually see the actual documents that list the enslaved people, some of them given names, on these documents, their ages, and in some instances where they came from. Like, for example, if you click on the 1819 Register of Africans from the schooner, which is the boat, the Esperanza, you can actually see the document. You can even go close to it, magnify it, you can make it bigger. There's a lot of things you can do on these sites and find this information. It's well documented. See, what y'all don't realize is y'all so hell-bent on these conspiracy theories, thinking that everybody had to try to hide our history. We weren't allowed to even read. It was fucking illegal in most places for us to read. So they didn't have to hide it. We just didn't have access to it and didn't know it. And were not allowed to get access to all this information. So nothing had to be hidden. And if you think the public school is an old institution, it's not. It's the late 19th century. And for Black students, our education is more, you can put that into the 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, when we really start being educated properly. So they didn't have to hide it because it was in plain sight. We just didn't have access to it, or weren't taught it, or weren't given access to it. But the information is there. We even have accounts from people who were on slave ships. We have accounts from people who were not just enslaved, like Olado Equiano, who wrote his own account, but also enslavers. The guy who wrote the gospel song Amazing Grace was an enslaver. who so say found redemption and wrote about it. But he also wrote about his experiences aboard slave ships docking and coming in from Africa. But this is one of the most famous ones, Equiana, aka Gustavus Vassa. He wrote his experience in 1789 on what it was like to be in Africa before this experience, kidnapped from Africa, what was going on the boat, and what happened once he got here to America. He wrote about it. And I know y'all don't really do reading, but you can actually find this on Audible and just listen to his account, The Interesting Narrative of the Life of Olaudah Equiano, or Gustavus Vassa, the African. You can read those things. You can find all of this documentation. You can literally go and find the work of these black marine biologists who are excavating and going through slave ships and enslaved people's remains at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. And there's tons of them. So evidence is everywhere. We even have evidence in the ship itself of the last known slave ship to arrive in the United States off the coast of Alabama. So what are you talking about? I get that y'all are trying to find y'all identity and understand yourself in this vast world that we live in. However, what y'all need not do in the quest of doing that is disparage, disrespect these people whose lives were unhinged, was taken apart. It is their fight, it is their hurt that make us who we are today. Do your research before you say stuff so stupid so loudly.
Tell me why modern day 2025, we don't have any boats coming directly from Africa to America.
There may be a store upstairs, but it's not open. It's not. First, you can get to Africa, the continent, on a boat. There are cruises to Africa that you can take right now. I want to call you a dumbass, but I don't think the word is strong enough to explain what the fuck you are. Slavery has been well documented. Also, we have grandparents whose parents were slaves. There are grandparents alive right now who were still slaves in the 50s, 40s, 30s in the South. Even as recent as the 70s and 80s. I don't know if you Hoteps decided that, I don't know if you Hoteps are like psyops sent from the CIA and FBI. I don't know what the fuck it is, but I need y'all to get it the fuck together. I need y'all to get it the fuck together. Everything that America stands for right now started with the Native American genocide, chattel slavery, and then moved on to Jim Crow, the Bracero Program, Operation WB, and etc. What is wrong with you? I would sit here and educate you on white individuals like John Brown, who assisted in the abolition, Harriet Tubman, who is well documented as an abolitionist. It's crazy to me that you could be this wrong. And not only are you this wrong, but you're liking comments from white people agreeing with you that slavery never existed. That is rooted in racism, violent and aggressive racism. Because instead of grappling with the fact that their ancestors enslaved ours, ate ours, beat ours, raped ours, unalived ours, they rather ignore the fact that it exists and say that it never happened. And you're only adding fuel to the fire. I don't know if you're so, if you have so much internalized racism that you have channeled it into being pro-Black to the point where you no longer, you don't want to grapple with the fact that maybe you did come from suffering. You will never hear a Jewish person say that the Holocaust did not happen. They wouldn't dare say that. What the fuck is wrong with you?
What do you guys think about this lady's video? What do you think about what she said on, how people are not using boat to travel, and how slavery, everything they taught us about slavery isn't true? Because, if it happens to be true, people should be traveling by boat. Who wants to be on the boat for 3 months? Who wants to be on the boat for 12, 13, 14, 15 weeks just to get to Africa, or from Africa just to get to America? Who's ready to risk their life that way? Even she had done a little bit of work here and there to just get through a little bit of history. So many people died on that boat. So many people died on the boat. But a little Google research will have saved her from the drag and the bashing that she is currently receiving. When I first watched the first video, I thought she was joking. And then going through her page, yes, she is very serious. She is dead as serious with her claim. Slavery is too well documented for someone to say slavery didn't happen the way they said it happened, because there were people who are telling real stories. There were people who were alive to tell their stories and the things that they had to go through. Being dead as serious or something, being very loud and wrong at the same time is actually the part that is infuriating to so many people. I would like to hear what you guys think about our video actually, because yes, they are really bashing her, and there are so many palm-colored people in the comment section. The people who have been looking for a place to hide their head with the support of a colored person to call other Black people dumb, they found their comment section, because that video had about close to 400,000 views, and they were in the comment section agreeing to what this woman is saying, almost like they all did not have access to the internet. This person said she probably knows better. For real, she's doing it for attention, just like Candace Owen. They can profit off of clickbait, because you have a phone, you can just type, like, is there a way to get to Africa by boat? And then you decide if you want to risk your life, if you want people around you to risk their life that way. Another person said, I feel like our people are getting paid by unknown sources to say anything to try and mislead an entire generation. So many people see our video so dumb to a point where they are saying that they are paid to say something like this and mislead an entire generation. Another person said, I feel like people is not understanding what she is saying. What she is saying is we are the original people of America, and the boat theory was to erase the memory of where we were from. But the boat happened. People were brought into America by boat. Like, it wasn't like a theory. It was a real thing. It was not a theory. This one said, I hate that I went down the rabbit hole. The amount of people agreeing with her is like a research does not exist. Yes, there were so many palm color people in the comment section agreeing with her, and I thought like few Black people as well agreeing with her, and this is the reason why a lot of people are saying they need to get back to school, because if they can come together and agree on something like that, it's actually insane. Let me hear what you guys think about her video. Let me hear what you think about her claims. I am calling it the hill that I think this lady is ready to die on, because she made multiple videos as well, doubling down on what she had said, still standing on that point. So let me hear what you guys think. We are all aware that there can be a little lies in the history that they teach in school, but it's not about the boat thing. It's not about, bringing people Africa on boats to America. That was never a lie. That was true. We've seen people who were alive to tell the story. We've had people who were alive to tell their story. Let me hear what you guys think about that video. I am going to see you guys in the next one.